The Exodus. The Galactic Concord had existed for nearly 15 centuries, a tapestry of 217 sentient species woven together through trade, diplomacy, and occasionally war. Among these species, humans were relatively recent arrivals, having achieved faster-than-light travel barely 3 centuries ago. They weren't the strongest physically like the Ursine Groktar, nor the most technologically advanced like the crystalline Visari, nor did they possess the psionic abilities of the ethereal Noor. Yet somehow, humans had become the quiet backbone of the galaxy. Admiral Teflon of the Aurelian Dominion glared at the holographic displays showing the latest production reports. His massive, 6-limbed form towered over his subordinates as his upper limbs gesticulated in frustration. How can a single human outproduce 5 Aurelian engineers? He demanded. It defies natural order. It's not just their productivity. Admiral, his science advisor, Nevrak, replied cautiously. The humans innovate at an alarming rate. They don't just follow instructions, they improve upon them. The modifications that human engineers suggested last cycle increased our fleet's shield efficiency by 17%. Teflon's compound eyes narrowed. They are becoming too essential, too quickly. The High Council believes this represents a strategic vulnerability. A vulnerability, sir. Indeed. What happens when they decide to leverage their position? When they demand concessions, special privileges? The High Council has determined that preemptive action is necessary. Across the galaxy, similar conversations were taking place among the power brokers of various civilizations. The Visari technocracy worried about human innovation outpacing their own. The Groktar hegemony feared human diplomatic skill that routinely outmaneuvered their blunt approaches. The Noor collective sensed the unusual adaptability of human minds that somehow resisted their subtle psionic influences. None of them realized that humanity had been listening. Ambassador Elena Chen sat at her desk in the human embassy on Arella Prime, reviewing the latest intelligence report. The holographic display glowed softly in her dimly lit office as she swiped through file after file of intercepted communications, trade analyses, and military assessments. They're planning to act against us, she murmured to her AI assistant. All of them, in their own way. The probability models confirm your assessment, the AI replied, its voice calm and measured. The Aurelian ultimatum is expected within 37 days. The Visari will likely follow within a week. The Groktar and Noor shortly thereafter. Elena leaned back in her chair, her eyes drifting to the window overlooking the alien cityscape. Massive Aurelian architecture dominated the skyline, all harsh angles and imposing symmetry. Yet even here, human influence was visible. The elegant curved walkways connecting towers, the efficient public transport systems, the vibrant market districts that had revitalized formerly abandoned sectors. How long until Operation Walkaway is ready? She asked. 94% of human assets and personnel are already positioned. The remaining 6% will be in place within 22 days. Elena nodded. And they still don't suspect. No sign of awareness in any monitored communications. The distributed nature of the preparation has prevented pattern recognition. Good. Send the authorization code. We begin the final phase today. For generations, humanity had prepared for this moment, having learned early in their galactic experience that no matter how useful they made themselves, xenophobia and fear would eventually turn against them. Rather than build weapons or fortresses, they had constructed something far more powerful: indispensability. Humans became the greatest mechanics, the most innovative engineers, the most skilled programmers, the most effective diplomats, and the most adaptable workers in the galaxy. They integrated themselves into every aspect of galactic infrastructure, not through domination, but through excellence and reliability. And all the while, they maintained their independence through a vast, secret network of contingency plans. When the Aurelian ultimatum finally came, demanding that all human innovations be submitted for security review before implementation and that human workers be supervised by Aurelian overseers, Humanity was ready. The human response was not what anyone expected. High Chancellor Kreth of the Aurelian Dominion stood before the Galactic Concord Assembly, his voice resonating through the massive chamber. The human delegation has 24 hours to respond to our reasonable security measures, he declared. Their unusual capabilities represent a potential threat to galactic stability. We are merely acting in the interest of all species. Representatives from other powerful factions nodded in agreement, each seeing an opportunity to check the rising human influence. The smaller, less powerful species remained silent, knowing better than to oppose the major powers openly. Ambassador Chen stepped to the podium, her small human form dwarfed by the massive Aurelian who had just spoken. She carried no notes, wore no special regalia. Her simple blue diplomatic uniform stood in stark contrast to the elaborate garments of the other representatives. The human response is simple, she said, her voice calm but carrying clearly throughout the chamber. We decline. Murmurs spread through the assembly. Furthermore, she continued, as of this moment, humanity is withdrawing from the Galactic Concord. The murmurs became shouts of confusion and outrage. This is unacceptable. Chancellor Kreth bellowed. You cannot simply. We can, and we are. Chen interrupted, something that was simply not done in Concord protocol. For centuries, we have contributed to this galactic community. We have innovated, built, repaired, optimized, and improved. We have asked for little in return except fair treatment and respect. Now you seek to control us out of fear of what we might become. She looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes, optical sensors, and sensory organs of dozens of different species. So be it. As of this moment, every human in the galaxy is departing. Every human ship is leaving. Every human engineer, technician, diplomat, trader, and worker is going home. We wish you all peace and prosperity. With that, she turned and walked from the podium. Chancellor Kreth laughed, the sound echoing through the suddenly silent chamber. Empty theatrics. You cannot possibly coordinate such an action. Your species is spread across thousands of worlds. Ambassador Chen paused at the exit and looked back. It's already done. Across the galaxy, at precisely the same moment, every human dropped what they were doing and walked away. Engineers in the middle of critical repairs set down their tools and left. Diplomats in crucial negotiations excused themselves and never returned. Traders closed their businesses. Medical professionals transferred their patients to non-human doctors. Programmers abandoned their terminals. Pilots landed their ships at the nearest port, disembarked, and disappeared. It was not chaotic. It was not emotional. It was coordinated, systematic, and absolute. Within 24 hours, every human ship capable of interstellar travel had departed known space, following prearranged vectors that scattered them beyond the reach of even the most advanced tracking systems. The few humans who couldn't immediately leave were sheltered by a network of sympathetic non-humans, mostly from the smaller species who had benefited most from human generosity over the centuries. The great powers of the galaxy were initially amused, then annoyed, then concerned, and finally, as the days passed and systems began to fail, alarmed. What do you mean, the atmospheric processors are failing? Demanded Overseer Jalvoth of Visari Station Alpha. Fix them immediately. The Visari technician's crystalline form shimmered with anxiety. The systems were maintained by human engineers, Overseer. They used custom tools and proprietary methods. Our technicians are trying, but the systems are degrading faster than we can understand them. This is absurd. How could we become so dependent on a single species? The technician's voice was low. We grew complacent, Overseer. It was more efficient to let humans handle maintenance while we focused on research and development. But they didn't just maintain, they constantly improved. The systems no longer match our original designs. Similar conversations were happening across Visari space as their technology, supposedly the most advanced in the galaxy, began to falter without human maintenance and innovation. In the Groktar war rooms, Massive unseen figures roared with frustration as their supposedly invincible fleet found itself increasingly hampered by cascading system failures. "Our jump engines are operating at 60% efficiency and declining," reported Fleet Commander Gorish. "The human engineers integrated their innovations so thoroughly that our own technicians cannot fully understand the systems, let alone maintain them. And our weapons platforms," growled Supreme Warlord Kragor. 70% and declining, Warlord. The targeting systems in particular relied heavily on human programming expertise. The Warlord's massive fist crashed down on the holographic display, causing it to flicker. "How did we allow this to happen? We are Grokter. We dominate. We do not depend." "The humans never demanded recognition," the fleet commander said quietly. "They simply made themselves useful, so useful that we stopped questioning their contributions." Even the psionic Noor found themselves affected. Their consciousness collective, which had always prided itself on transcending physical limitations, discovered that the communication network linking their scattered enclaves had been subtly enhanced by human technicians over decades. "The efficiency algorithms are degrading," observed Elder Thoughtshave. "The humans designed them to require periodic updates only they knew how to provide." "Can we not reverse engineer their methods?" asked a younger consciousness. "Their code is elegant yet chaotic, like their minds. It follows patterns we struggle to comprehend. What takes us cycles of analysis, they seem to intuit instantly." Throughout the galaxy, the absence of humanity was becoming an unmistakable void, not through what they had taken, but through what they had been quietly providing all along. And as systems failed, economies faltered, and tensions rose, the powers that had so confidently dismissed humanity began to realize the true magnitude of their mistake. The Galactic Concord had driven away its most valuable members. Now they would learn exactly what that meant. The reckoning. 3 months after humanity's departure, the first major system collapsed. The Visari Central Hub, a massive space station that served as the nexus for the crystalline species' vast communication network, went dark after its quantum stabilizers failed. The Visari had always prided themselves on having the most advanced technology in the galaxy, but they had relied on human engineers to maintain and improve the incredibly complex systems for so long that their own technicians couldn't prevent the cascade failure. When the hub went dark, 57 Visari worlds lost their primary means of instantaneous communication. Their economy, built on the lightning-fast exchange of information and resources, began to fracture. The Visari Archon, a being of pure crystalline thought who had not addressed lesser species directly in over 3 centuries, summoned the Concord's emergency assembly. "We demand to know the location of the human worlds," the Archon's translator intoned. "This sabotage cannot stand." Chancellor Kreth of the Aurelian Dominion rose to his full imposing height. "The humans did not sabotage your systems, Archon. They simply stopped maintaining them. There is a difference, a semantic distinction. They designed their innovations to require their ongoing involvement, a deliberate dependency." From her seat representing the Noor Collective, Elder Thoughtshave's holographic form shimmered. "Did they force us to adopt their innovations? Did they insist we rely on them exclusively? Or did we choose convenience over independence?" The chamber fell silent. No one wanted to acknowledge the uncomfortable truth. The humans had never pushed themselves on anyone. They had simply offered better solutions, and the galaxy had eagerly embraced them without considering the implications. On Arella Prime, the capital world of the Dominion, the economic disruptions were becoming impossible to ignore. The massive shipyards that had once produced the fearsome Aurelian dreadnoughts now operated at barely 30% capacity. The intricate supply chains that had kept the mighty Dominion functioning smoothly were unraveling. Admiral Teflon stared out at the half-finished hulls from his office viewport. "How much worse will it get?" he asked his economic advisor. "The projections are concerning, Admiral. Productivity continues to decline across all sectors. The innovations the humans introduced over the decades became so integrated into our systems that removing them would require rebuilding from fundamental principles. Yet maintaining them without human expertise proves increasingly difficult. And the other powers, all suffering similar effects, though in different ways. The Grokter military effectiveness has declined by an estimated 40%. The Visari communication and research networks continue to degrade. Even the Noor report difficulties maintaining their consciousness links at previous efficiency levels. The Admiral's compound eyes narrowed. And the smaller species. The advisor hesitated. Some appear to be less affected. Explain. The Mithril Federation, the Ort Commune, the Xan Alliance. Several of the minor powers had deeper relationships with human engineers and diplomats. They received more comprehensive training, more complete documentation. Some even have human expatriates who chose to remain. Tethalon turned sharply. Expatriates. Find them. Bring them here. We have tried, Admiral. They refuse. And the minor powers are protecting them, citing sovereign rights under Concord law. The massive Aurelian's upper limbs twitched with barely controlled rage. Then we shall compel them through strength. With respect, Admiral, our military capability is significantly reduced without human technical support. Furthermore, these minor powers have formed a mutual defense pact. They call themselves the Human Legacy Coalition. A coalition of weaklings is still weak. Perhaps before, sir, but our intelligence suggests they possess functional human technology. Technology that continues to advance even in humanity's absence. 6 months after the Exodus, the first interspecies conflict erupted when an Aurelian battle group attempted to extract human expatriates from the Mithril homeworld. The resulting engagement shocked the galaxy. The supposedly inferior Mithril defense forces, operating with fully functional human-enhanced systems, decimated the Aurelian attackers. The Galactic Concord, already straining under economic pressures, now faced the prospect of war between its members. An emergency summit was called, with representatives from all major powers and the newly influential Human Legacy Coalition. Chancellor Kreth addressed the assembly, his once commanding presence now diminished by the visible strain of leading a struggling empire. This body must act decisively to prevent further hostilities. We propose a galaxy-wide effort to locate humanity and open negotiations for their return. Return. Scoffed Dexferon, the Mithril representative. Why would they return to those who sought to control them out of fear? Some humans remained among us precisely because we treated them as equals, not as resources to be exploited or threats to be contained. Yet we cannot progress without them, admitted the Visari Archon, a remarkable concession from the normally superior species. Our research initiatives are stalled. Systems we took for granted are failing. The galaxy is regressing. Elder thought shave of the Noor floated forward. Perhaps that is the lesson we needed to learn. No species exists in isolation. True strength comes not from domination, but from synergy. The debate raged for days. Accusations flew. Historical grievances surfaced. Yet beneath the posturing lay a simple truth. The galaxy needed humanity far more than anyone had realized. Finally, a compromise emerged. A joint expedition would be launched to find humanity's new home. Representatives from all major powers would participate, but the mission would be led by the Human Legacy Coalition, the only faction that had maintained positive relations with the departed humans. The search took another 6 months. Humanity had covered their tracks well, using their intimate knowledge of sensor technology to mask their trail. Yet eventually, patterns emerged. Unusual energy signatures, distinctive communication bursts, the unique frequency modulation that human FTL drives produced. The joint expedition followed these breadcrumbs across uncharted space until they reached a star system that shouldn't have existed, at least not according to any Concord star charts. A G-type star surrounded by 12 planets, 3 in the habitable zone, all showing signs of rapid development. Impossible, muttered the Aurelian science officer as the expedition fleet approached. These planets show evidence of terraforming that should take centuries, yet our estimates suggest humans arrived less than a year ago. You still underestimate them, replied Dexfaron with a knowing smile. Humans had contingency plans in place long before they left. They didn't just walk away. They walked toward something they had been building in secret for generations. As the fleet established orbit around the third planet, they were greeted by a transmission from the surface. Ambassador Elena Chen's face appeared on the main view screen, looking remarkably calm and unsurprised. "Welcome to Novaterra," she said. "We've been expecting you." The negotiations that followed would reshape galactic politics forever. The human delegation, led by Ambassador Chen, received the Concord representatives in a city that shouldn't have existed, a metropolis of elegant towers and efficient infrastructure that had somehow been constructed in months rather than decades. "How is this possible?" Chancellor Kreth asked as they were led through streets bustling with activity. "Even with your species' capabilities, you couldn't have built all this since you left." Elena smiled. "We didn't build it after we left. We built it before. But this system wasn't even on our charts." "Exactly. Humanity has been preparing for this eventuality for generations, Chancellor. We established this colony, and others like it, in secret, knowing that eventually the major powers would try to control or contain us. We built backup systems, stockpiled resources, and prepared complete fabrication facilities. When the time came to leave, we simply activated what was already here." The implications stunned the alien representatives. Humanity hadn't just been integrating themselves into galactic society. They had been quietly establishing a parallel civilization beyond the knowledge of even the most advanced intelligence services. In the Grand Conference Hall of Novaterra, the terms of humanity's potential return to the Galactic Concord were laid out. "We will not be controlled," Elena stated firmly. "We will not be supervised or restricted out of fear of our capabilities. We will share our innovations, but we will not be treated as servants or potential threats." "You ask for extraordinary concessions," growled Supreme Warlord Kragor of the Gruktar hegemony. "How can we trust that your species won't use its advantages against us?" "If we wanted to harm you, Warlord," Elena replied calmly, "we would have done so by thoroughly integrating ourselves into your civilization's infrastructure, making ourselves indispensable, and then suddenly withdrawing. Exactly what we did. The resulting collapse would have left you vulnerable to any number of aggressive actions." The room fell silent as the truth of her words sank in. "Yet instead," she continued, "we simply left. We did not attack. We did not sabotage. We did not exploit your sudden vulnerability. We merely removed ourselves from an inequitable relationship." The Viseri Arkan's crystalline form shimmered with reluctant acknowledgement. "You demonstrated your power through restraint." "Not power," Elena corrected. "Value. There's a difference, and that difference is key to our terms." The terms humanity proposed were straightforward: full membership in the Concord with equal representation, a ban on any restrictions targeted specifically at human innovation or movement, mutual defense agreements, and open technological exchange programs. In return, Elena concluded, humanity will gradually return to Concord space. We will help repair the systems that have degraded in our absence. We will share our knowledge more openly than before, training others rather than simply doing the work ourselves. But we will remain independent, with our own secure territories and the right to withdraw again if these terms are violated. The debate within the Concord raged for weeks. Some factions resisted, unwilling to concede so much to a species that, despite everything, was still seen as upstarts in the galactic community. Yet the economic reality was undeniable. The longer the negotiations dragged on, the more systems failed across Concord space. Finally, pragmatism won out. The Galactic Concord Reform Treaty was signed, with humanity's terms accepted almost entirely intact. As the signing ceremony concluded, Chancellor Kreth approached Ambassador Chen privately. "You planned this from the beginning," he said, his voice a mixture of accusation and grudging respect. "Your species intentionally made yourselves indispensable." Elena shook her head. "Not exactly, Chancellor. We simply did what humans have always done. We adapted, we innovated, we built, we offered our best to your civilizations. You chose to rely on us while simultaneously fearing us. That was your mistake, not our strategy." The Aurelian's compound eyes studied her for a long moment. "And if we had not come looking for you, if we had not accepted your terms, then we would have continued building our own future, separate from but parallel to yours. We don't need the Concord, Chancellor. We never did. But we believe a galaxy where species work together as equals is better than one where we all develop in isolation. Even now, you teach us lessons," Kreth said, his voice carrying a new note of humility. "That's another human trait, Chancellor," Elena replied with a small smile. "We never stop learning, and we never stop teaching. It's part of what makes us who we are." The return of humanity to the galactic stage was gradual but transformative. Human engineers and technicians spread throughout Concord space, repairing and upgrading the systems that had deteriorated in their absence. But this time, they worked alongside alien apprentices, teaching rather than simply doing. Within a year, most critical infrastructure was functioning again. Within 5, the galaxy had not only recovered, but was advancing at an unprecedented rate as human innovation catalyzed development across all species. The day humanity walked away had nearly broken the galaxy. But in that breaking, something stronger had been forged. A true community of equals, bound not by fear or dependency, but by mutual respect and genuine cooperation. It was a lesson the galaxy would not soon forget.